Hello, my friends. Hi, it's Arlene Bishop, performing singer-songwriter and artist on the spectrum. I am a late diagnosed autistic person with ADHD, and I'm here in my studio exploring what it means to be a high masking person who only discovered that I'm autistic when I was 58, and I am 60 years old now, and I'm going through a thing right now. I want to talk about it. It's the 5 stages of grief. You know these stages. I believe in these kinds of things. I believe in these sort of therapeutic terms. So, what is it? Kubler-Ross? Is that right? 2 people? 2 people? Or 1 person with a hyphenated name? I don't know. I can't remember. My brain won't let me look it up. Yeah. Wow. I'm a little bit up and hyper. Okay. What are the 5 stages? There's denial, there's anger, there's bargaining, depression, and acceptance, right? And if I had my way, I would barrel right through to acceptance. That's what I would do. Yep, I would process the whole thing super fast, and I would process it by saying that I've processed it. But that's not true. I have a hard time feeling my feelings. And I have been working on that for a really long time. And now that I know that I'm autistic with ADHD, it helps me to process my feelings now, I think. It's my theory. And I wanted to focus in on one of the stages. Yeah, anger. Yeah, I want to focus in on anger because anger is an emotion that I have a lot of difficulty with. Yeah, like a lot of other people. I have a hard time dealing with my anger. I have a hard time even acknowledging that I have anger. There you go. How's that for an introduction? So here we are. Where are we? It's coming up. It's already coming up on a month. It's 3 weeks, I guess. Yeah, 3 weeks since my mom died. Since I was with her in the hospital, getting her ready for her surgery, and then things went sideways, and she died. And I sat with her, beside her, holding her hand with my partner Yod, with her sisters, with her best friends. We all sat there talking and swapping stories, and I held my mom's hand, and I caressed her forehead, and I said nice things to my mom, which was really remarkable in our relationship. Really, quite remarkable in our relationship because my mom and I, throughout our life together, we had a really challenging relationship at times. Yeah, we fought. We fought all the time. I disagreed with her all the time. She disagreed with me and I disagreed with her. And it started really early, very early in my life. So early, in fact, that my first words when I was 9 months old, I think it says, my first words were bad baby. Yeah, that's kind of wild, isn't it? My mom gave me the book, I think when I was about 40. And I thought it was so sweet. I thought it was a sweet gift. Until I read the bad baby thing, and I just like, what the hell? What would I have been doing at 9 months, up to 9 months old? That was bad baby-ish. Like, what was I gambling? How many times did I hear the phrase bad baby for it to be my first words? So that sort of broad strokes describes a relationship with my mom. Oh yeah, you know what? I have to give myself some grace and a disclaimer here that this challenge, this wouldn't be a surprise to my mom to be talking about this. Although if she was still alive and watching this channel, I probably wouldn't be talking about it. So I feel freer to talk about it now that she's gone. And I also feel freer to talk about it because I've resolved it somewhat. Because she and I, we really worked on our relationship really over the past year. Like, yeah, leaps and bounds. when I finally asked my mom, what the heck, what is going on here? She expressed to me that that's because we lived in a really tiny shack, really small, not a shack, a tiny little house, little naval sailor's house. What am I trying to say? My father was in the Navy. I was born in Churchill, Manitoba, which is where James Bay and North Bay meet. It's where the polar bears are. And it's the polar bear capital. It's in Winnipeg. And that's where I was born. And we had a little tiny house. And in the center of this little tiny house was apparently an oil heater. And when I started crawling, I was always crawling towards the water heater. This oil heater, I mean. And Mom said that it was really hot. And so she was constantly correcting me to not go up to the oil heater and get myself burned. Yeah. So she was correcting me, which is a really good phrase to use for my relationship with my mom. My mom always corrected me. I think was the really first origin of my masking, that she was a loving person. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this. My mom was a loving person, loving, caring, funny, nice person. People loved my mom. Love, love, love. Everybody will say wonderful things about my mom. But to me, she was always correcting me. Was telling me that I was saying the wrong thing, standing the wrong way, doing the wrong thing, doing with the wrong people, doing it at the wrong time, always corrected. And the thing that she did the most that really angered me was that she would tell me what I was thinking and what I was feeling, which was infuriating. Of course, I didn't know I was autistic. I didn't know that my behaviors, I guess, might have been frustrating for a parent sometimes. Yep, for a young parent sometimes. Maybe my behaviors were frustrating. Yeah, maybe I was stimming my way towards that oil heater every chance I could get there. I was on my way there. I don't know. Who knows? But I grew up believing that my intentions were wrong, that I was in need of correction, and that I should have this stuff figured out. I was in trouble a lot. Always in trouble. Always getting smacked, getting spanked, getting slapped, getting pinched, getting berated, getting yelled at. And then when I was in the 80s, when I was a teenager, oh, my goodness, you'd think the devil was in me. She had a heck of a time with what I was probably up to, what I was thinking and feeling. And yep, I was not to be trusted. It was hard. It was really hard. It's why I left home when I was 18. But as I said, my mom was a loving mom. My parents gave me everything that I needed. Yep. And I was a nice kid. And part of my training from my parents, from my mom, was to be a nice person, a nice, respectful person. And so that's what I was with my mom. I didn't express my anger with her. There was no having anger with my mom or my dad. That was not an experience that we shared. Anger went one way. And I worked at being a good kid. And when I became a young adult, and, I left home when I was 18, and then I left the city. I left Ottawa, where I mostly grew up, and I moved to Toronto, and I started my own life. And I had my own life, and I visited frequently, and I talked to them on the phone, but I didn't share a lot about what was going on in my life because I was thrilled to no longer be corrected all the time. It was great. That freedom was great. But my life fell apart a number of times. Lots of tragedies that happened in my life. And my parents came to my rescue. They did, because they're good people. But they were very frustrated with the situations I would get myself into. And they told me so. And I could never explain why I was getting myself into these situations. When I was 42 and I got my separation from my husband and I was a parent, things changed. Things changed for me when I became a parent and I focused more on my kid. I mean, I really focused on my kid. You should see that video talking about being an undiagnosed autistic person who's a mother. Yeah, my kid was my special focus. And I also started therapy during that time. I didn't want to be the kind of mom my mom was to me, to my little kid. I didn't want his first words to be bad baby. And as she got older and I got older, I guess, our dynamic started to change. She moved to the States. She fell into a certain kind of political bubble for the section of the United States that she lived in, and it was very frustrating. And we would argue about that. And that's the very first time that I actually started to argue with my mother, that I got angry with her and I would tell her so, because the news that she was getting was terribly inaccurate and the attitudes that she was developing were very frustrating and not in keeping with the kind of person that I knew that she was. So we fought about those kinds of things. And then during the pandemic, her husband, who had slipped into dementia, was on his own when she had a big medical emergency and was in the hospital for months and months, and she was in a coma and I couldn't get to her. And eventually I was able to get to her. Her husband died. And I went to Texas and drove her home. There's a video there too, if you ever want to see that crazy story. And she came to live with us during the pandemic. So there we were for the first time since I was before 18, living together in the same house during the pandemic, and everything was shut down. And she had a lot of medical necessities. So I found myself in the role of caregiver and political corrector. I got to be a little more real with her sometimes, being angry. And then came time when she left. She moved out and she went to Ottawa and she moved into assisted living. But then I could just visit her every now and then and continue to take care of her and help her with her affairs. And I got to be a bit of a an authority in her life, help her out with things, help her find out things, and so forth. And then for about the 50 millionth time, I had another burnout, another crash, and I got some mental health support. There's another video about that, blah, blah, blah. Wow, lots of referrals. How long have I been talking? Too long? And I found out that I am autistic, and I found out that I have ADHD. And I expressed it to my mom. And she didn't believe it. She didn't believe in autism. She didn't believe in ADHD. She didn't believe in labels, all of that stuff, you know. You know how frustrating that is, that she would rather believe this. So this was the argument. I finally had enough of a vocabulary to argue with her, to be angry with her, to stand up for myself. I was frustrated with her that she would rather believe that there was something wrong with me that needed to be corrected than to look into this thing that she knew nothing about. So I challenged her to look into it. And I started this channel, and I started my Patreon, and I started talking about it, and I started sending her stuff. And I don't know how much she watched or read. I think a little bit. Because our conversations about this started to change. Because I would tell her I really wanted to have a real relationship with her. I really wanted to be able to share what was happening in my life and not hide things And I had always needed to hide things. That's masking, I guess. I had always needed to hide things because I was always so disappointing to her. I was always so disappointing and frustrating and aggravating. And, she just she would be saying all you need to do is, this, this, and this. And I couldn't explain to her why I can't do this, this, and this. I can't make my brain start doing this. Or now I'm interested in doing this. I'm doing this over here. But now, with my new understanding about how my brain worked and giving her a little bit of information, and we started talking about it, she would every now and then have a real little bit of a breakthrough about how, oh, okay, that's what's going on. And then I started talking about other family members because, of course, this thing is, there's a genetic component, there's an inheritable component. So it was quite possible that my mother was neurodivergent or my father was neurodivergent. My dad's been gone for about, 15, 16 years now. And I wonder if he was autistic. And I wondered if my mom was ADHD. And when I suggested that to her, she didn't like that suggestion at all. Until about the last 6 months, where we would actually have conversations about this stuff. And she would describe what was going on in her brain. She would say something and I would, annoyingly, because it's my special interest, autism, I'd say, Mom, that's a trait. That's a trait. And she'd be like, oh, God, another trait. So let's cut to the very end of her life, where we got to spend a bunch of days together. And she said to me that she was sorry. Oh, boy. She was sorry that she was so hard on me. That she appreciated that I was so strong. But she was sorry that she had worked so hard at making me strong. It's okay. And it made me sad to hear it, but it also made me grateful. Grateful to hear that. And I also actually told her that I appreciated that she made me strong, which I do. I don't sound very strong right now. This isn't anger. This is sadness. Or is it anger? I don't know. This is sadness. This isn't anger. I did appreciate that she made me a strong person. Strong enough to sit with her. Yeah, as she passed. Which I don't think I would have been able to do before, because before I wasn't able to be real with my mother. So at her deathbed, I felt like I was real. Yeah. And I had told my aunts about my brain and her best friends. So everyone around the bed knew that I am neurodivergent and that I needed support, not criticism. I needed support. I was going to support her, my mother, and everyone else as well. But the kind of support that I needed might be a little different than what they're aware of or what they're accustomed to. And so that's what happened. That's the arc of the relationship with my mother, that it took 60 years, but I was able to finally be real, to be seen by my mother and to see her. Right up to the very end. And there I am, my stupid special interest. Arlene, gotta talk about what I'm interested in. She's trying to tell me something and I'm, scoring her on the autism trait and the ASD quotients. Anyway, she laughed and she said, yeah, it could be. could be. So there you go. When I started this, I wanted to talk about anger because I was angry with my mother for so much of my life. So frequently angry. But the anger was mixed up with sadness because I wanted to have a relationship with her and I felt like I couldn't have a real relationship with her. Wow, am I doing all the stages right now? Wow, did I get to a place of acceptance? Have I done it? Have I gone through the stages of grief? Am I the best griever ever? Am I basically the most humble person on the internet right now, able to achieve all 5 stages of the stages of grief? Is this me being in denial? Boom, done it. 5 stages. Anyway, I hope you guys are okay. Thanks again for letting me process this stuff. I meant to do this in about 5 minutes. How long have I been talking? If this is an experience that you have experience in it, if this is an experience that you have an experience in, I would love to hear about your experience. But if you don't have experience in it, I'd love to hear from you anyway. I love the comments. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. I will see you soon. You take care of yourself. I'm going to take care of myself. I'll take care of some other people. And I will see you really soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, I can't believe I almost cried again. I mean, I didn't cry. Did I cry? I kind of cried. I don't know. I didn't really cry. I got that feeling. Whoa, I'm gonna cry. Oh no, don't cry. Yeah, totally being real. Totally being real. Yep, that's me.